Hey, welcome to our Reddit. Maplewood Estates was a picturesque suburban neighborhood, known for its well-kept lawns and friendly residents. The community thrived under the Homeowners Association HOA, which ensured that everyone adhered to the rules that kept the neighborhood looking pristine. For years, the HOA had been led by a group of dedicated volunteers who struck a balance between maintaining order and fostering a sense of community. Then Karen Parker moved in. Karen was a force to be reckoned with. She had moved into Maplewood Estates only 6 months ago, but she had already made a name for herself as someone who liked things a certain way her way. When the position of HOA president became available, Karen seized the opportunity, running a campaign that promised to improve and perfect the neighborhood. She won by a narrow margin, thanks to her tireless door-to-door campaigning and promises of stricter regulations to maintain the neighborhood's aesthetic. At the first HOA meeting under Karen's leadership, the residents filled the community center, curious and a bit anxious about what changes might come. Karen stood at the podium, her presence commanding attention. She began with a polite greeting, but quickly moved into a detailed list of new rules she intended to implement. First and foremost, Karen announced, we need to address the issue of lawn maintenance. From now on, all lawns must be mowed to a height of exactly 2 inches. No exceptions. Murmurs spread through the crowd. This was stricter than the previous guideline, which allowed for a bit of flexibility. Additionally, Karen continued, all flower beds must be composed of no more than 3 types of flowers. This will ensure uniformity and prevent any clashing of colors. Several residents exchanged incredulous glances. This seemed overly specific and unnecessarily restrictive. Karen wasn't finished. We will also implement a new policy on house colors. Only shades of beige, gray, and white will be permitted. Any existing houses painted in non-compliant colors must be repainted within the next 6 months. A hand shot up in the back. It was Mr. Thompson, a longtime resident with a bright blue house that had always been a local landmark. Excuse me, Karen, Mr. Thompson said, his voice shaking slightly with anger. But that's ridiculous. We've had this house for 20 years, and everyone loves the color. Why should we change it now? Karen gave him a tight smile. Mr. Thompson, we're striving for a cohesive look throughout the neighborhood. Exceptions cannot be made. The meeting continued, with Karen outlining a series of increasingly draconian rules. No basketball hoops in driveways, no outdoor furniture that wasn't pre-approved by the HOA, and no holiday decorations outside the official holiday periods. As the weeks passed, Karen's rules began to take effect, and the neighborhood's cheerful atmosphere started to dim. Residents whispered among themselves, sharing their frustrations and grievances. The once friendly community was now living under Karen's iron fist, and morale was low. One Saturday afternoon, a small group of residents gathered at the park to discuss their growing discontent. Among them were Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Green from the corner house, and the Garcia family, who had recently received a warning for having an unauthorized garden gnome. This has to stop, Mrs. Green said, her voice firm. We can't let her ruin our neighborhood. But what can we do? Mr. Garcia asked, holding his young daughter's hand. She's the president now. She has the power. Mr. Thompson leaned forward, his eyes alight with determination. We can vote her out. We just need enough people to agree. The group nodded in agreement, and they began to strategize. They decided to start a petition to call for a vote of no confidence in Karen's leadership. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to restore their community. Over the next few weeks, the group worked tirelessly, going door to door to gather signatures. They shared stories of Karen's unreasonable rules and the negative impact on the neighborhood. Slowly but surely, they gained support. One evening, Karen noticed the increased activity in the neighborhood and grew suspicious. She decided to confront the group at their next meeting. What's going on here? Karen demanded as she stormed into the park where the residents had gathered. Why are you all meeting without notifying the HOA? Mr. Thompson stood up, holding the petition. Karen, we're here because we believe your leadership is damaging our community. We've gathered enough signatures to call for a vote of no confidence. Karen's face turned red with anger. This is outrageous. I've done nothing but improve this neighborhood. You're all just resistant to change. Mrs. Green stepped forward. Karen, it's not about resisting change. It's about the way you've imposed these changes without considering how they affect everyone. We missed the sense of community we had before. Karen opened her mouth to retort, but then closed it, looking around at the determined faces of her neighbors. She realized she had underestimated their resolve. The vote was scheduled for the following Saturday. The atmosphere was tense as residents gathered in the community center, the air thick with anticipation. Karen sat at the front, her expression a mixture of defiance and anxiety. Mr. Thompson, representing the petitioners, stood up to speak. We all moved to Maplewood Estates because it was a place where we felt at home, where we could be ourselves. But over the past few months, we've lost that. Karen's rules have made us feel stifled and disconnected. We're here to take back our community. Karen then took the floor, trying to defend her actions. I implemented these rules to maintain the neighborhood standards. I wanted to make this a better place for all of us. The room was silent as the vote began. Ballots were cast, and tensions ran high. Finally, the votes were tallied, and the result was clear. Karen had been voted out as HOA president. As the news spread, a sense of relief washed over the crowd. People began to smile and talk animatedly, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. Karen stood up, her face pale, and walked out of the room without a word. The following week, the neighborhood held a meeting to elect a new HOA president. Mr. Thompson was chosen, and he immediately set to work undoing the more unreasonable rules Karen had put in place. Under his leadership, the community slowly began to heal. Lawns grew a bit wilder, flower beds burst with a riot of colors, and Mr. Thompson's blue house remained a cheerful landmark. The residents of Maplewood Estates rediscovered the joy of living in a neighborhood where individuality was celebrated and the sense of community was restored. And as for Karen, she learned a valuable lesson about the importance of balance and listening to others. While she remained in the neighborhood, she kept a lower profile, gradually integrating herself into the community she once tried to control. In the end, Maplewood Estates became a stronger, more vibrant place, a testament to the power of unity and the resilience of its residents. Thank you for watching our Reddit. If you like my content and want to support me, don't forget to like and subscribe.